Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Shalom. I'm chairman of Vox International, a very active company in the consumer electronics field, but as well, I'm the chairman of the Consumer Electronics Association Charitable Foundation, which is active in trying to promote a better lifestyle for seniors through the aid of electronic communications. And in this respect, we have supported the self-help organization this past year, who maintain extensive facilities in New York City, and they have thousands of members. And one of the things that they do really well is to bring better communications to seniors, especially those who are homebound or unable to go out or to leave their apartments, feel isolated and cut off from the community. Through the great help that self-help does, it brings two-way communication to these people who are able to now stay active in their community, talk to people, participate in different programs, and have a new life. So we find this very exciting, and we're very happy. I'm personally very pleased to be able to participate and to help promote these programs. So it's my pleasure now to introduce to you to Steve Ewell, who's the Executive Director of the Foundation for CEA. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and thank you guys for staying this afternoon. I know we're the end of the day, but I'm very pleased to be able to talk about the CEA Foundation, and very pleased to be able to have people like John Shalom, who is a legend in the consumer electronics industry, as my chairman. Robin is another member of my board, Robin Raskin, who's in the room. We have a great group. The CEA Foundation builds on the great work of the Consumer Electronics Association. Here we are at CES, which is the world's largest innovation event, and we're able to support innovative nonprofit organizations that are helping seniors and people with disabilities through our foundation. Our industry has created so many amazing products that have impacted all of our lives, and now we're able to work as a foundation to convene industry, advocacy organizations, government, and consumers to continue the important dialogue on issues like we've had today. And we can continue to highlight the great work of the consumer electronics industry. And most importantly, we can make a difference in the lives of people with disabilities and seniors. I'd like to encourage you all to visit ceafoundation.org to learn more about what we're doing. Also, please feel free to talk to any of us after. I'm happy to give you my contact information and let you know more of the programs that we're doing. But right now, I'd like to introduce David Dring, the Executive Director of the Self-Help Innovations. David has had an incredible career in Aging Network, including his current efforts at Self-Help, which he will demonstrate here today. They were the first grant recipient by the CEA Foundation, and we believe they are making a significant impact on the health and well-being of seniors. So with that, David.
Thanks very much. So I just want to say thanks, because Self-Help was the first organization to get a grant, and we're really very delighted about that. So thank you very much, both Steve and John. And I got to tell you, there are so many references to the Matrix today that I can't resist. You know, my favorite speech from the Matrix is, Morpheus in the cave, about to do the rave dance. And it's like, fear not, because it's not what we've done. It's not what lays ahead, but it's because of what we've done. And it's true. I mean, you just sort of alluded to it again. It's what our pioneers have done in the past that are enabling us to be able to do great work today. So what I'm really excited to talk about today is not some extraordinarily advanced technology, but very practical technology that can make very practical differences. So I work at a nonprofit organization in New York City. We serve 20,000 people. We serve those people in 23 different locations. We provide all sorts of services to people across the care continuum without putting people in a skilled nursing facility. So we started 76 years ago by taking care of Holocaust survivors, people fleeing from war-torn Europe, where we understood what it meant to provide entirely coordinated care because they came over without clothes, without food, without money, without a place to live, and without job prospects, and we're able to provide them with solutions. So from that, we began focusing on the really most at-risk populations within our community. So over time, we evolved to do a whole bunch of different things, but most recently, actually in our history, we've gotten really very good at taking care of ambulatory people, people that can move around in our buildings, people that can come to our senior centers, people that can support us in our social adult day program. But there is a whole host of people that are not able to come, and that those are the folks that are shut in and isolated in their homes. And so when you look at the data, it's pretty extraordinary. So 17% of older adults in New York City, that turns out to be 143,000 people, are at risk for being shut in. Working with AARP, our dear friends, we've identified about, or they've actually identified about 2 million people that this constitutes. So when we talk about fear, this is what keeps me up at night, is the idea that we have $829 billion spent on acute and long-term care within Medicare and CMS, and we have only $2.2 billion, or 400 times less on what we spend on acute care. So there's some really great innovations that are happening in terms of what are the ways in which we can do some really amazing things within that large bucket and then derive the savings. So it's crazy things like 4% of Medicare, but CMS's budget is increasing by 4%. So that's $32 billion a year. It's 16 times the entire amount that we're currently spending on prevention. And this is my favorite slide of late in terms of 5% of Medicare beneficiaries have 5 chronic conditions, which represents 55% of the total Medicare budget. So if you take those numbers and you divide them in half, that's $184,000 per person per year. That's just basic math. I can only do basic math. You know, the more complicated stuff is for other people. But it gives you a frame of reference about what are the relative costs of what we're talking about. And when we think about how do we deliver care, so my approach to this is, as a community service organization, I have to take care of, or our organization has to take care of more people. And so this is a paradigm in terms of the ways in which we can focus on doing more care for people, which is less expensive in terms of what we call wellness coaches. It gets a little bit more expensive to do the care coordinator, the care specialists, the care experts, getting all the way down to the medical visits, which are more expensive. So the more that we can use technology to minimize those costs, the better we are. So you may be familiar with salmon locks, those ideas where, build a lock and then the salmon can't get through it. Yeah. So the ways in which we can be able to upgrade the groups. So self-help thinks about what are the strategies that we can do around empowerment, that we can engage, and then we can connect people. And then we've created what we call a base station, which is an all-in-one device. And I've been thrilled to think about the things that we can do, or the lessons that people have talked about in terms of the data services that we can gather. And many people have talked about the same paradigm. I was very pleased to hear about the Map Fitness guys talking about the ways in which they take their data to then begin to apply specific activities. So we're doing the same thing with our homebound seniors. And with support from the Consumer Electronics Association, we're taking what we've done with a very small group of people in New York City and being able to expand that to 3 other cities across the country, working in Washington, D.C., in Chicago, and also in San Diego, where I'm delighted that we're going to be talking with folks from Qualcomm who were here today, which is very exciting. But one of the things that the Brain Fitness guys and a couple other people have talked about is fundamentally that this is about behavioral change. How do we help people think differently? And I was very impressed with what, again, another Matrix reference, Deepak was talking about the attitudinal things, the way people are thinking about things. And I literally had a call with the senior vice president of IBM this morning, and instead talking about giving us a grant, she wanted to talk about her mother, because her 89-year-old mother is suffering from, essentially geriatric depression, and how is she going to figure out ways to re-engage her? So we've figured out those things in a way through our device. And it was very interesting to listen to the guy from IDEO talk about what are the challenges of creating a comprehensive system. So what we've done is we didn't build a system. We went to Best Buy and said, what's available for us? And we use a Gateway, we use a Samsung, we use a Sony, we use an Asus. These are all currently available devices that have great cameras that tilt, because it's kind of like Granny, behind the steering wheel. If the device can't tilt, you only get the top of their heads in the video screen, which is very funny. It's a whole new driver sort of thing. And so we created an interface, and one of the great things about our interface is the ability to do both group class activities. We do self-directed activities, so people talked a lot about games. We have a game app that you can play Mahjong with 4 other people, but they can be in 4 other cities across the country. We're doing that with Scrabble, just being able to build off. But the most exciting for me is civic engagement. The whole idea that we have these homebound seniors who before were shut off and isolated and not valued in the community. We now have them volunteering for library programs in ways that they can participate and show off some of the great. So we're in New York City, so we've made some reference to my fabulous mayor. I happen to like him. And you can see in the back where we have a large screen television, where we have our homebound participants engaged in the activities. So we have a large image for them that we show at our senior centers. And we have a whole lot more I can show you. And I had a video I was going to show, but given all of our fun challenges today, I decided not to. But you can go and take a look at, no offense, I understand, was the idea that, selfhelp.net virtual senior center, that's a phone number. Give me a call. That's an email address. We'd love to talk with you some more. And thank you very much.